If concerned family members call a hotel asking them to call the police on a hotel guest because they're afraid he's going to commit suicide and the hotel delays calling the police, can they be held liable? To find out, you have to read Beadell versus Eros Management, but it's 37 pages. Don't have time for that? I've got you covered. This is TLDR, Too Long Didn't Read, where I cover New York Court of Appeals cases, and I try to do it in 5 minutes or less. This is the episode on the case of Beadell versus Eros Management. The citation for this case is 2026 New York Slip Opinion 00962, published by the New York Court of Appeals on February 19th of 2026. The issue in this case is to what extent a hotel can be said to have assumed a risk to protect a guest to such extent that it can be held liable for wrongful death or negligence in completion of that duty. To understand and appreciate the context of this case, what's helpful to know in terms of background is that in New York, there's no general common law duty to protect individuals, other people, another person from harming themselves. There's no duty to run forward and stop someone from jumping in front of a train or into traffic. But New York has a voluntary assumption of duty concept, a principle where if a person or if a party undertakes or accepts to take an affirmative act that creates a duty, they must perform it with due care. The elements of this assumption of duty concept are a voluntary undertaking, reliance by the plaintiff that is reasonably foreseeable, and performance of that act with due care. That's the voluntary assumption of duty principle. Now, what are the facts in this case? The facts are that in this case, Dr. Beadell in May of 2017 was originally from Nebraska. He was a neurologist in New York City for a medical conference, staying at a hotel in Midtown Manhattan. And he had a history of mental illness, along with a suicide attempt. And he was sending text messages to his sister and his mother, who then called the hotel and said, "I'm concerned because I think that Dr. Beadell is contemplating suicide. Can you go check on him?" The hotel, this is the first phone call. The hotel then goes and checks the balcony, checks the roof, and knocks on Dr. Beadell's door, who answers. There's open bottles of alcohol and pill bottles. But he's fine, and he says, "I am fine. Please don't bother me anymore. Don't disturb me." About 15 minutes later, the same family members from Nebraska and Minnesota of Dr. Beadell call the hotel again and say, "He's sending us more text messages concerning suicide. Can you please go call the police?" The hotel now doesn't do anything for about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 15 to 25 minutes. Ultimately, the family then calls back 15, 20 minutes later. And at that point, the hotel both goes to Dr. Beadell's room and goes next door to the police and calls the police. That's right next to Midtown Precinct. And police accompany them to the hotel room, and Dr. Beadell jumps out of the window and dies. The family then sues the hotel, saying, "You've assumed a duty and you breached that duty." They sue them in wrongful death and in negligence. At the Supreme Court, the hotel moved for summary judgment, saying, "Dismiss this. We have no duty." And the Supreme Court denied that motion for summary judgment, said, "No, let it go forward." It goes to the appellate division, and they reverse. They say there is no duty on the part of the hotel, and this gets appealed to the Court of Appeals. And here, there's a split decision. The majority decision agrees with the appellate division. There is no duty on the part of the hotel, and they say that they didn't actually assume, they didn't tell the family, "Don't call the police, we'll do it." There's no reasonable reliance that a plaintiff didn't take any action because of the phone call, according to the majority. And also they say, as a public policy matter, we don't want to dissuade hotels from being helpful. So if we impose liability here, the hotel is going to say in the future, "I'm not doing anything." And we want people to try to stop suicides if we can. There's a thoughtful and strongly worded dissent by Judge Wilson, saying he would go with the Supreme Court here. He would let this case move forward because the plaintiff did justifiably rely upon the statements by the hotel that they would follow up and call the police. But once again, there is no liability in this circumstance under this fact pattern. If you like what you just saw and want to see more just like it, please hit like or subscribe to let me know.